Hello, Brad McDowell here, and today I'll be talking about how we can set up the Windows Reconcile accounts and onboard them into CyberArk Privilege Cloud. This is my lab environment, and what I'm going to explain today isn't necessarily a best practice, it's just what I'm doing in my lab. This is just to give you guidance on how you might do it in your environment. So what I'm going to do is set up two Windows Domain Reconcile accounts, and I'm going to give them the minimum permissions required to rotate passwords of domain admins, enterprise admins, and just regular admin accounts. They'll also have the permission to change any other password in Active Directory as well, as long as it's a user object. The reason why I've got two Windows Domain Reconcile accounts is so that they can reconcile each other, just in case something goes wrong with one of the accounts. And then we'll also create a Reconcile account that will be used to manage the local admin accounts on member servers. So this extra Reconcile account will only be members of the server admins group, and this will be managed by the domain Reconcile account. So when we onboard it, it'll be reset by the Windows Domain Reconcile account. With that all said, I'll head over to the lab now and show you how it's done. So here we are in the lab. I'm just going to go straight to the domain controller and I'll create two accounts. This is for the Windows Domain Reconcile account. And first we'll create a new user. I'm going to create two users, or two Domain Reconcile accounts. And I'll explain later in the video why I'm doing this, but you don't have to do two Reconcile accounts for the domain. But I'll just do this for demonstration purposes. Next, I'll add them to the protected users group. This step is optional. You don't necessarily have to do this, but I'm going to do this in my lab. I'll also give this a description. To also further lock down these Reconcile accounts, we can go into here and go to the Account tab and log on to, and we'll select the following computers. Now, if you're going to do this, you have to ensure that you're putting all the domain controllers that these Reconcile accounts need to talk to, so they'll be in the same Active Directory site where the CPMs are, and you've got to think about the DR site as well. My lab is quite simple. All I need to do is add DC1 along with connector server 1 and connector server 2, and this is because the verification process comes from the connector servers. So I'll just do that. I'll repeat this on the second Reconcile account. And next we'll apply the permissions to Active Directory so that these two accounts have the ability to change passwords on any account in the Active Directory, or any user account I should say, and also any domain admin or enterprise admin account that's in the protected admin SD holder template. I'll explain what that is next. So here's a script that will give the Reconcile account the permission to change or reset passwords and unlock accounts in the root of the Active Directory and any sub-OUs, and as well as, because the domain admin accounts have the admin SD holder template applied in their permissions, this will also create the permissions in that too, so that this account has the ability to reset passwords for domain administrators and enterprise administrators. So I'll just update the username here. So it's the netbios / and then the username. We run all this. Then we'll go and add the permissions. And I'll do this for the second Reconcile account. One thing to note, it may take 15 minutes or so for this to apply, as the admin SD holder template is applied to domain admins every 15 minutes or so. I don't know the exact timing. So the next thing I'll do is go into group policy, and I want to talk about the default domain controllers policy. And you may need to skip this step depending on your organization's configuration, but I'll go into the policy and show you what I'm talking about. So we'll edit the default domain controllers policy. I'll just make this bigger. We'll go to policies, Windows settings, security settings, local policies, security options, and down to network access, restrict clients allowed to make calls to SAM. So if your organization has not configured this, you probably don't need to touch this. The reconcile process will work. But if your organization has this configured and hardened their domain controllers, you'll need to come into here and edit this and add in the reconcile accounts we just created. So I'll just add both of those now. And we'll apply that and hit OK. And of course, we'll need to allow for replication to happen in group policy for this to take effect. So this is an optional step depending on your organization's configuration, but I'll proceed on to the next step. And ahead of time, I've created some test accounts for the demonstration later. I've created a server admin, that's just a regular user, that's a member of the server admins group, a domain admin, of course, on the domain admins group, and an enterprise admin assigned to the enterprise admin group. Just a note, the enterprise admin, I put in a member of the protected users just for demonstration that we can rotate users in that group. That's all we need to do on the domain controller for the domain reconcile account. I'll switch over to the lab and we'll add these accounts and test them out. So here in the Privilege Cloud portal, we'll go to policies, then safes, and we'll create some safes for today's demonstration. The first safe is where we'll stick the Windows domain reconcile account. I'm not going to worry about permissions for now, we'll do that offline, but we'll just hit skip and create safe. So only my account will have access to these for this demo. The second account is where I'm going to stick all the test accounts that we're onboarding just to demonstrate the reconcile account is working. And then we'll head to administration platform management over here. And for the purpose of demonstration, I'll use the Windows domain account platform here that I disabled in a previous video. This is like the default configuration of a Windows domain account. So I'll just duplicate that and we'll give this a name and we'll activate this. There's our Windows domain reconcile. And first thing I'll do is edit it. And we'll go to automatic password. Actually, we'll start with UI workflows and then comments, go to the connection components. And the first thing I want to do is disable the PSM RDP so that this account can't be used to log on to servers, even though that we've restricted the target accounts to only be able to log on to DCs. Then we'll go to General under Automatic Password Management. I'm going to set this to 1 just to speed things up when we do our testing. We'll go to Password Change. I'll set this to yes. We'll go to Password Verification. We'll set that to yes also. And Generate Password. We'll set this to 40 characters. So that's all I want to do in the settings for this Windows Domain Reconcile platform. And if we go back to the accounts view, and now we'll onboard the Reconcile accounts. And just for demonstration purposes, I won't add the password. I'll get the Reconcile account 1 to change the password on this one. And we'll add that. And I'll just favorite these two accounts. And go back to the favorites view. And we'll go to the second Reconcile account. And we'll go to the Details tab and link the first Reconcile account. So Reconcile account 1. And I'll go to the first Reconcile account and over to the Overview tab here, and I'll just select Verify. So a minute passed, and we can see the account is now reconciled on Reconcile account 1. We'll go to the second Reconcile account. We'll hit Reconcile now so that the Reconcile account 1 will change the password on Reconcile account 2. We can see it's processing now, so I keep refreshing. We can see the CPM has reconciled the password, so that's good. If I go back to Reconcile account 1, we'll go to the Details tab and we'll link the Reconcile account 2. We'll go back to the Overview tab and hit Reconcile. And Reconcile account 1 has been reconciled, and so that means both accounts have had their password changed, and that was achieved via the opposite account reconciling each other. So what I'll do next is we'll go to the Reconcile account 1, we'll go to the additional details in the classic interface, and I'll just copy this information here. I'll just open up a notepad file, and we'll head over to Administration, then Platform Management. And what I'll do is I'll go to the main platform that I've been using for all the Windows domain accounts. We'll edit this. We'll come down to Automatic Password Management, Password Reconciliation, and we'll enable the Automatic Reconcile when unsynced. And if we go to our notepad file, the safe that this is in was this one here. So we'll put that in there. And the account name is not the username, it's a separate thing. And that's this long string here. So I'll just select that there and we'll hit apply and then OK. So if we go back to the accounts view, and here we have my brad.admin account that I've used in previous videos. If we go to the Details tab, we can see the Reconcile account is now linked. But for today's demonstration, I'll add in those test accounts I was showing you earlier. We'll just select that same platform and the test safe we created earlier. We don't need to add in the password. We'll let the Reconcile do its thing. Well, this is a test domain admin. Test enterprise admin. And we'll add that. I'll just favorite these 3 accounts and go back to the favorites view. What we'll do first is we'll go and reconcile this server admin account. You can see the CPM is working on it, so I'll just refresh one more time. And that's been reconciled. I'll just verify that too, just so that that's done. We'll do the same for the domain admin and the enterprise admin. And as you can see, this has failed. And just to show you the error, we'll go to here and we can see that the access was denied. So that tells me that admin SD holder template hasn't replicated yet or hasn't applied. As I said earlier, it applies periodically. And it also could be the group policy change has not made effect to the domain controller. So I'll just be patient and let that do its thing, and I'll come back and try it again. It's now later in the day. I haven't made any changes, and I'll attempt the reconcile again on both the DA and enterprise admin account. And we can see the EA account or enterprise admin account has changed and it's been reconciled, as you can see. And the test domain admin has been reconciled. And here we are back on the domain controller. I'll go over to service accounts here. And we'll create a service account purely for rotating passwords on Windows servers. We don't want to use our domain reconcile accounts. We want to follow the practice of least privilege. So we'll create a separate one for that purpose. And we'll go new user. I'll call it this. And I'll give it a description. And we'll go to the member of tab here and we'll add it to the server admins group. And just to show you group policy, in group policy we have in the servers OU, we've got a server local administrators policy, and in here I've simply allowed the server admins group to have local admin rights along with domain admins, local admin and administrator. So we'll keep that way. And I'll head back to the lab and we'll test the Windows Server Reconcile account to ensure that we can rotate and onboard a local admin account on a server. Our next goal is to onboard the local admin accounts on a server. And when we do that, we'll use a Reconcile account. Before we can get started with that, I will create two safes. The first safe will contain the Reconcile account for the Windows servers. Again, I'll do the permissions at a separate time. And the second safe will contain the local admin accounts of the Windows servers. So we'll create that. Next, I will go and onboard the Reconcile account for the local admins. So add an account. This will be Windows. I'll leave the password blank. We'll hit add. So here's our Reconcile account. I'll just quickly link that Reconcile account, or the domain Reconcile. And we use a Windows domain Reconcile account 1. And we'll select Reconcile. This account has been reconciled using the domain Reconcile account. I'll just go to the classic interface so we can copy this information here. And we'll put this in our notepad. We'll use that later. I'll now go to Platform Management. And this is where we need to duplicate the default Windows Server local accounts. Give it a name. We'll activate this. And we'll edit it. Go to Automate Password Management. And first we'll change the immediate interval to 1. We'll hit apply. We'll go to password change. We'll set this to yes. Verification, we'll set that to yes. Apply that. We'll go to the reconciliation. We'll enable this. And we'll get our safe from our notepad. So this is the Windows Server Reconcile safe. And the account name for the Server Reconcile account. We'll apply that. We'll go to generate password. We'll make this something that should overachieve our local password policy. And we'll hit apply and then OK. We'll go back to the accounts view. So back in the accounts view, we'll now onboard the local admin account on a member server. Ideally, we would onboard them through the discovery process, but I just want to simulate that it works first. Add the account, select Windows, the Windows Server local accounts, the safe where the Windows Server local accounts will be stored. This is the address of the member server that we're going to onboard, and its username is localadmin. We'll hit add. I'll just search for that address and we'll just favorite that. And here it is here. We'll come into here, and before we hit reconcile, we can verify the Reconcile account for the Windows server is already attached. That's because we configured that at the platform level. So we'll just simply hit reconcile. And here we can see the account was successfully reconciled, which is great. So what we've achieved so far is we've created 2 Reconcile accounts, set the permissions in Active Directory, onboarded them into CyberArk, and configured them so that each account will reconcile each other. We then configured the Windows domain account platform so that the Windows domain reconcile account 1 is automatically linked to this platform, so that when you add accounts to this platform, you don't have to go through the reconcile linking process. We then tested that the reconcile account can rotate the enterprise admin, domain admin, and server admin in this case. And then we did the use case of onboarding a Windows Server reconcile account. And this was a member of the server administrators group. And therefore, it could reset the password of local admin on Windows Server 1 when we onboarded that. Next, I'll cover some topics of what to look out for and what not to do. So first, what to look out for, we'll switch back to the domain controller. And here on the domain controller, we've got a list of domain admins here in this case. Now, some organizations are going through the process of removing domain admin rights from accounts. When your account is a domain admin, one thing to be aware of in the security tab, if we go to advanced, the enable inheritance buttons is available. So what that means is the admin SD holder template will come into here, disable inheritance, and apply the admin SD holder template accordingly. And that's why we had to set those additional permissions. But if your organization is going through the process of removing the user from the domain admins group, for instance, I'll just do that now. And we'll hit yes on that one and apply it and just go back into here. If we go to the security tab and go to the advanced button, this has still got the enable inheritance button available. So this tells me if you've got a lot of accounts in your AD that were a domain admin at one point and you remove them, the inheritance is not re-enabled, and therefore sometimes the reconcile account permissions won't apply to those accounts who have gone through that process. I'll put some information in the video notes on how you can investigate this further if it's a problem in your environment, but that's something to look out for. And finally, I'll talk about what not to do when you've got reconcile accounts attached to platforms and considerations when setting permissions or configuring the platform. So ahead of time, I've logged into the web portal as John. John's got an account onboarded here as john.admin. This is a domain admin in this case. It could be any privileged account. John can use this account as they need to. And John can't edit this account. This is good. And John can't add any other accounts, which is good. You may need to do that in your organizations for other reasons. But I'll just go back to the portal and I'll show you the permissions on that safe. So here's John's safe. We go to the members tab and I'll just show you how I've set that at the moment. This is not necessarily a best practice. It's what I've done in this lab. I've allowed John to list, use, and retrieve the account. I've allowed John to initiate CPM changes. I think that's a good thing so that John can change the password using the CPM. And I've allowed John to view the audit log as well. As I said, this is not necessarily best practice. This is just what I've done in this lab. Now, I'll set this to full permissions, and this is what I see many organizations inadvertently do. It could be on accident and not realizing what the ramifications are if you allow the user to have full permissions. And realistically, this only applies when you've got Reconcile accounts automatically attached to platforms. So I've set that, and I'll head back to John's session, and I'll refresh the session. And now we can see John has the ability to edit this account. So if we click edit, John could simply change the username of this account. I'll make it administrator and hit save. And John could simply hit the reconcile button here, and this would reset the administrator password on this AD domain, and thus John would escalate the privilege. So let's say you did want to allow John to have full access to a safe or their own safe. You can do that, but you need to ensure that the platform's configured so that John couldn't attach accounts directly to this platform. So if I go back to the other session, and we'll go to administration, platform management. And I'll go to this platform that we've been working on today, and we'll hit edit. We'll go to automatic password management, then general. And here's the allowed safes option. This is a regular expression. I won't go through the details on how you could set this, but this is how you could lock down the platform so it can only be used on certain safes. So you might exclude all the personal safes. You might only include safes with a certain starting pattern, and this is why it's important to have a good safe naming convention so that the regular expressions that you put here are more flexible. Anyway, I'll finish the video here. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one.